What really made me want to stop is the fact that I wanted to stop the entire time. And I always had that inside of me to want to be better. There's absolutely not nothing. You have people around you that are willing to help you out, and you just got to find them. My name is Max, or Maximilian. And, I'm just a small town kid, man. Didn't have too much going on when I was going through it, right? So started off small and then ended up working my way up to where I am now, just like, anybody else in this world trying to get it how I live, man. Growing up, I had a lot of friends, not too many of them were my group, you know what I mean? Like I felt like I sort of mixed into a whole bunch of different categories. It was a lot of taking what was given and trying to make the most out of it. So I was really into sports. I played a lot of hockey and soccer and basketball, but I found my niche right inside of soccer, and I grew up playing rep soccer, and I had such a great time, man. It was a blast. I had a lot of great people that I hung around, and I had that number 9 on my jersey, and I cherished it. And through those experiences, I broke up with the sport after I hurt myself, man. I hurt myself pretty bad on the field. I went to go take a kick right at the net, and I just hurt my knee so bad I was out for the next 2 seasons, man. So couldn't really get back into it after that. How I got introduced to substances was mainly from my friend group swap. So as soon as I went from playing with all the sporty kids and everything else, and I decided, hey man, look, this isn't my thing anymore. I can't do this. I feel like I'm out of the group. I feel like I haven't been playing so long now, I can't even enjoy the sport anymore. And I started hanging around some different people, and the different people, they weren't all that bad sometimes. However, they were getting into stuff that I wasn't too into at the time, like such as substances. So I believe the first time I was introduced to substances, I was very young, man. I had a joint that was pre-rolled for me. And, however that looked, it looked. But at the time, I didn't realize how that was going to start off a whole nother story for me. The substances progressed over time, mainly through the change of pace, right? So it changed from whatever I was hanging out with to that substance. There's people that do marijuana, there's people that do coke, there's people that do heroin. It's all over the map. So when you start getting engaged with different groups of people, you find yourself engaging in those different things. When I started doing substances, I wasn't a hard guy. I never thought I was gonna start off with doing, smoking weed and end up doing crack or whatever. But the main thing is that when I started, I started off with the way things were. So that was weed. From weed, it went to Xanax. So that was my next stopping point. I felt like that was the way it had happened, at least in my head, because when I started smoking up with people that enjoyed the feeling of feeling down, right? That is what they were also into as well. So I got involved with Xanax at the age of 15, 16 years old, and that's where I started understanding what the effects had on me, which was basically I get to sleep all day and not do much, and that's where it started. What Xanax provided for me was a way out. I never thought it was possible to even explain it like that, but there was so many things going on in my life at that time. I mean, adjusting to everything at once is a difficult path to lead, and you don't really know exactly where you fit in. So when I was doing these things, man, I really felt the need to fit in. And as soon as I found out that I'm not cool with who I am, I realized I feel a lot cooler with who I'm not. And when I started doing Xanax, I realized, man, I don't have to be anything. I could just lay in bed all day, relieve myself of all the pain and pressure that's on me, and then I could start really living my life the way I need to, because I don't think I need to live it at all. So as I progressed, right, with the addiction as a whole, I mean, I strongly believe that it was an addiction due to the fact that I had to have it or else I didn't feel okay. However, it became progressive within the midst of me needing to take more in order to successfully achieve the same amount of level of high that I was before. I didn't like being in high school. I thought it was a waste of time. I didn't think I was getting anywhere with it, and I preferred to look out the window in class instead of really being engaged in the classroom. So, I mean, from that perspective, I enjoyed going to school high because I didn't think there was any purpose for me being there in the first place, and that's where it really started happening. So there was lots of days when I came in there and I was able to be a normal kid and hide the fact that I'm high. And there was times when I couldn't even sip water out of the fountain properly. So a teacher would pull me aside and say, "Are you okay?" And then slowly start to understand the fact that I wasn't, and pull me aside and say, "Hey, what's going on?" And from that point of view, I really started to understand how it affected me in my everyday life. When a teacher pulls you to the side and says, "Are you okay?" That means you're not okay. However, there was many of times when I got locked into a room, really, and it's not like I'm a situation where they're like, "Hey, Max, go in the room." It was more so they wanted to keep me away from the rest of the kids so that they didn't indulge in whatever I was doing, so that they could keep me away from everybody and that nobody knew anything, and just a safe space for Maximilian to conk out and do his work. And feel free, to tell me I'm wrong, but from your experience, have you ever been in a situation where you had somebody just isolate you from everybody because they don't want you a part of anything? Because that's how I felt. What really made me want to stop is the fact that I wanted to stop the entire time. And I didn't have any control over myself. At the situation at hand, I never really wanted to be doing these things. I never really thought of myself as the person that might get involved in doing them. And I always felt the need to say these things to the people that were around me when we were doing them. And I always had that inside of me to want to be better. And so the turning point for me was when I was going through it, man, and I really hit an all-time low. Like it got bad, and I couldn't explain it to myself, but there was a time when I wanted to just say, "It's done. I'm finished trying, and I don't want to do this anymore." And from that perspective, it really changed my life, because I never thought I'd be the type of person to say, "Hey, man, I'm gonna quit. I don't think I have anything in this life. I don't think I'm part of anything. I don't think that I'm going anywhere." And there's people around me that see it every day. So when I sit down there and I see it from that point of view, it was really that decision I made that day to say, "Hey, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. If anybody is going to hear from me, it's going to be Max is done." I was ready to take my own life, Chris, and I thought that everything was over for me. I didn't have the things I wanted in my life. I didn't have the people I needed in my life, and I didn't have the substances within myself to fulfill the duties I wanted to as a person. There was just not enough in me to continue, and I didn't want to do it anymore. I thought I was done. I didn't have anything going for myself. I didn't want anything in life. I didn't have any drive or motivation or ambition to do anything. And when I kill myself, it means I kill myself, but it doesn't necessarily mean I died. That day, I definitely died a little bit inside, regardless of what happened after. It killed me in a way that really drove me forward in life, and I could appreciate that moment in time no matter what happens. Because that day I was going to do it, I had a call come through from my ex-girlfriend. Girlfriend at time, ex-girlfriend now, and she said, "Max, are you okay? You've been kind of texting me weird." He called me and said something that threw me off, and I did. I talked to every single one of my family members. I talked to everybody, and nobody really understood how that conversation went. But it was me saying I'm going, and nobody stopped to think except for her. So she took me on, and her mom also, got on the phone and said, "Max, you could stay here for a day, a week, a month, whatever you need. I just don't want anything bad to happen to you." And at that stage of the game, I was so far gone. I said, "What is there left to lose? I don't see any point in doing this. I mean, I'm still going to do this eventually, whatever." I still had it mapped out in my head, but I said to myself, "You know what? What's this going to cause other than something great? Because I'm already here at rock bottom." So I took it. And then ever since then, it feels like everything's changed. So the climb felt like it was insurmountable. At the time, I didn't even see it happening before my eyes. It was one by one by one. Just as they say, it's brick by brick when you're building a house. So I felt the need to address the small things in my life first. I addressed the things that I needed to get done. I mean, at the time, is my driver's license, as silly as that sounds. It's like, man, I want some wheels, Let me see what I could do about that. Even the fact that I got a job. right? That was a big thing for me. I need a job. I need to find something in this life I could do before I just go right back to rock bottom, because those are the determining factors when you're speaking about those things, is having something in your life to keep you from that. I tried my hardest to succeed within the field that I have, and I tried to do the best with what I had, and through that process exceeded the expectation within myself. My manager tells me all the time, man, Max, you're a great kid, and that's great. But however, how do I be the best? And there's times in myself that I see I'm not the best. So I have to get to that point again where I say I am the best. So there's times in my life where I'm gonna be bad, and there's times in my life when I'm gonna be great. However, I know from the mistakes that I made in my past that I'm just never gonna go back to that person that I was. And that's what drives me forward every single day, is just being the best that I can be. What my climb led to is just being able to provide for myself in a way that I've never been able to provide for myself before. I see myself as somebody that's able to do anything in life now because of what I've overcame. I think that when I look back at that situation, if I could give any word of advice or some sort of support to any individual going through the same thing, or relative, that I would say that there's something out there for you. Never think that anybody's out there to get you. Never think that anybody's out there to mind their own business, because they're not, but they're also not there to get you. And when you feel like everybody's out there to get you, it means that you're against the world. And you never want to be against the world, because when you're in that situation, you feel like your back's against the wall and you got to fight, climb, scratch your way to success. However, it's not all like that. You have people around you that are willing to help you out, and you just got to find them.